What's going on, guys? So I hear that you want to move from New York State to North Carolina, and it just so happens that the boy is able to help answer any questions that you may have about this, or be able just to give you some sort of insight into what that transition would look like. And so I'm just going to jump right into it. And to begin, I just want to begin by saying when I first moved down here from New York State, I just graduated college and I was like, wow, I'm so bored of this place and I hate snow. Get me out of here, please. I'm gone. And so I got in my Toyota Corolla that just so happened to break down as soon as I got to Apex, which is where my cousin was staying, and which it just so happened I was staying with her for free. And the moment I woke up, guys, I was like, this is sick. Because in December, in the middle of December, it was December 15th that I moved down, but December 16th was the day that I woke up there in North Carolina of 2020, no, of 2019. And it was it was just night and day, honestly, like no pun intended, but it was night and day because when I woke up, I was greeted by sunlight. There's no snow. I walked outside in a t-shirt and shorts, and the air just smelled cleaner. I don't really know how to explain it. I went straight to Food Lion, which Food Lion's based. You need to go to Food Lion. And I just sort of did a little bit of grocery shopping because I needed to obviously take care of myself. And then I did a little bit of driving as well. And this was before obviously the car broke down, but that's a different story. And I did a little bit of driving and I was just blown away because, like in New York, I'm specifically from Syracuse, right? And in Syracuse, it just smells like heroin and homicide. And so when you walk outside, there's just really a lot of cracked stuff, potholes, homeless people, whole nine yards, just like a completely degenerated city. And so coming down to Apex, it's like you have no idea what happened. It's like you just went into the time machine and fast forwarded 100 years. And so like the asphalt I was driving on was glowing, like literally shining in the sunlight, and it was something I'd never experienced before. Very based, very cool. Highly recommend you experience that. And also on top of that, I also went to the post office and the DMV, which are both surprisingly really enjoyable experiences to say the least, because people were actually nice to you and you didn't need to just mean mug like the entire time. And that's something that's very different, something you really need to get used to when you go to North Carolina, because people are actually kind. I don't want to use the word nice, but I would say kind. So I went to the post office, people were talking to me randomly. I went to the DMV, people were, busting my chops a little bit, but it's cool because you're just busting your chops with people you're trying to get to know, right? You're testing them to make sure that they're cool. And so we were just chilling out, and I was chilling out, and I just ended up really, really enjoying my first day there. Fast forward, I'm, working, trying to figure my life out. Still trying to figure out my life, by the way, but it's a different story as well. And I've just been exploring, and I started out in Apex, right? So Apex, North Carolina, if you don't know, it was voted like number one place to live in the nation a couple of years back. And it's really easy to tell why. It's like, I'm going to say demographically, it's predominantly white. And then you got a little bit of black and Hispanic in there as well, but not really, enough that you could actually see. And so that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to move to a place like Apex. It's very upper middle class, and there's a lot of housing that goes on that kind of like looks the same. It's just like different colors, but everything kind of looks the same. It's like your typical suburb, your upper middle class suburb. I don't know how to put it. You could probably have a better imagination than me when it comes to that, but that's just what I observed. And on top of that, there's like a lot of really cool parks there too as well. There's like a really neat pond, actually. The name escapes me, but there's a really neat pond in Apex. So you can just walk around. It's like a loop, and it's just so excellent. I remember like longboarding and going for runs and walks there all the time. I just needed to like clear my head. On top of that, when you're in Apex, I would say you're just a shot from Raleigh, and so like there's a lot of opportunity for work, and you're also a shot from what was the other place? Durham. Yeah, Raleigh and Durham. You're very close. Those are very big work centers. I would say predominantly technology because you're going to be near Research Triangle Park, which is in Raleigh as well. So you want to make sure that, or at least near Raleigh, and you just want to make sure you're going to that sector if you want to move down to North Carolina, because I feel like that's where most of the jobs are, especially now, is in the technology sector. And so if you're trying to evolve in that, or if you've been just trying to get in, definitely, really look into the Research Triangle Park area, or, Raleigh Durham in general, because that's where it's really going to be growing, and that's where it's going to be exploding soon, or that's what I think. Um, I ended up living in Graham, North Carolina a while ago. Like nobody's ever heard of Graham, North Carolina, and probably for good reason, because it's not really much to really shake a stick at. It's kind of pretty low income, I would say. One of my first places, and it was in like sort of like a Section 8 place development. Wasn't that bad. People were cool. They kept to themselves, and I had nothing to complain about. But at the end of the day, again, low income, and you had to be careful. I really know how to explain it. It was more or less just the vibe, honestly. It had Food Lion, so that made up for it. And then it was next to a place called Hillsboro, North Carolina, which was just a sure shot from there, like 15 minutes away from Graham. In Hillsboro, there's this place called Occoneechee Mountain. It's beautiful. Highly recommend you check it out when you come down. And also the town of Hillsboro has like a really, really neat like town center. It's not really huge, but it's obviously taken care of, and people really care about it. And it's quite lively on the weekends, because I used to deliver for Domino's when I needed just to make some extra money. And I remember delivering for Domino's, and you would just see a relatively booming nightlife for the size of that town. And it would just be right inside that village center. It spans only a little bit. I really don't know what to give it. I would say like half a mile maybe in each direction. So keep that in mind if you're a big nightlife person. Not really much in like the Graham, Hillsboro area, but if you're trying to have like an intimate setting, you're trying to get to know the town, get to know the people, get close to them, those could be pretty good options, I would say. And then Graham, at the same time, it's not all like low income housing like I was at. There's also like some pretty upper middle class developments that are there, but just keep in mind that you're kind of away from everything, even in Hillsboro as well. Like from whether it's from Greensboro or from Raleigh, Durham to Charlotte, like you're in the middle of everything, and that's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, you got like maybe Burlington, but really all that's in Burlington is just Elon University, like sort of there. And then you have a lot of like shopping centers, I would say, honestly. And it's not really much to shake your hand at, I would say, because shake a stick at, excuse me, because there's really like any other sort of well-developed place. Burlington is definitely an up and up as well. And so if you wanted to consider Burlington, North Carolina, that could also be an option. It's like Graham in probably like 25 years or something like that, right? It's really like getting up there. It's getting popular. A lot of people are investing it inside of our state, and I feel like Burlington could be a good option as well if you're trying to live there too. Because I used to work at an Ashley Home Store, whipping, selling furniture. So I would say Burlington could be another option to look into. And then next to Burlington, I would say is Greensboro. I've never lived in Greensboro, but I've technically lived in Greensboro actually, because I was like homeless for a little bit. Like I don't want to use don't want to use the word homeless, but like I was basically homeless, and so I was like living with a friend. And in Greensboro, I would say that's actually pretty decent. You just gotta watch out for the neighborhoods again. I used to always go to this aquarium, or I'd go to like the country park. I think that's what it's called. Somebody will correct me in the comments, and that's totally cool. But I think it's called Country Park. They have a really great restaurant called Hops. Highly recommend it if you go to Greensboro. And I also really enjoyed just the general vibe of Greensboro as well. It just seems very homey, and it seems like it's just an easy place to raise a family if you wanted to. That's kind of the vibe that I got from Greensboro. Now, again, that's really all I could say about it, because I didn't live there. I just technically was habitating there because, homeless. So after Greensboro and that little debacle, I went to Charlotte, which is where I'm at right now. And out of all those places, I would definitely recommend Charlotte, because Charlotte is honestly a really dope city, in my opinion. I live in like the south end of Charlotte, and so it's kind of like perfect location wise, because I work in the city. I'm like 20 minutes away without traffic to the epicenter of Charlotte, and you're a good 45 minutes away from the epicenter with traffic. So I'd keep that in mind. If you're not a big traffic person, I mean, Raleigh and, Raleigh's probably not going to be the place you want to go, but Charlotte is definitely not the place you want to go if you're not a big, like, patient person who can't handle traffic. So definitely keep that in mind. I just happen to, wake up hella early and get my stuff done, and I don't mind just sitting there, because I don't know, I just kind of zen out and I just listen to music, or I just don't think about everything too hard, and I just don't put myself in situations where I'm in a rush. So it doesn't really matter to me. On top of that, there's a couple other things like the Whitewater that I haven't been to this by the way, but like the Whitewater Center, I heard it's very cool. You got Carowinds, which is like a theme park or amusement park, if you will, and that's like 15 minutes away from the south end. If you want to live in like an upper class area, definitely go to Matthews because Matthews is super well developed, and I really like the general vibe there as well. Glowing, glittering streets and upper middle class type lifestyle there. And I would say if you're just looking to start out as a young professional, definitely get roommates because I feel like roommates are very accessible inside the Charlotte area. A lot of people are trying to move there, so that's what I'm doing currently. I live with two really cool, responsible chicks who you can just find, and I found mine on Facebook. And so if you're trying to like get your start in life, I feel like Charlotte's a really good place to start, and I feel like Raleigh could be the same way. It just depends on what you're trying to do, honestly. Charlotte, I would also say, you don't need to shake a stick at Charlotte technology wise as well, but like really your main employer is going to be medical. Like, I think it's Atrium over here, and I think it's also Bank of America as well. So you're like financial or fintech institutions, maybe some technology in there, but it's more fintech, honestly. You would probably want to look into the Charlotte area as well. I feel like there's like a lot of opportunity there, so something to consider. And that's really just going to be the video, kind of short, my experience so far about moving into the North Carolina area from New York. Oh yeah, I forgot to touch on weather. Weather is amazing. Yeah, I might have like a little bit of frozen stuff going on with my windshield in the winter months, but it's nowhere near 6 inches, 6 to 12 inches of snow in central New York, Syracuse, and you're just freezing your tits off each day, and you're just like, oh my God, I hate this. Like it's totally bearable. At worst, you'll have some black ice, and it shuts everything down, and it's not even that hard to drive in, or at least in my opinion. And for most of the time, you're having wonderful weather, wonderful people as well in Charlotte too, and in North Carolina in general, just from my experience, because I just happen to always meet like cool people. It's just what I decide to, that's just the type of energy I decide to put out there. So that's kind of what you run into. What you have in your head is what you run into. So, yeah, that's really about it. I could maybe probably go more in depth into these, but I'll just save that for another video. So yeah, New York to North Carolina, highly recommend it. I'd give it a solid like 7 or 8 out of 10. Definitely wouldn't say it's not worth it. So give it a shot. And thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment about your experience or what you're looking forward to, or if you have any questions about anything, and I can try and see if I can help you. So double peace. Bye.